welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
I'm just checking my microphone's on, and it is. Last time it was like, so hopefully it's much better.
What was that big sweatshirt bulge thing? It was like pointing that way.
So very sorry about that. Hopefully we can do better this time.
I was just talking really loud. No.
You don't even have to.
Yeah. Yeah, hilarious.
So welcome to our monthly debrief. This is our debrief for November of 2023. So we're nearly at the end of our third year of doing these.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice. This particular video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Very appreciative of their sponsorship. A little bit more from them later on. So November was a very busy month for lots of reasons, right? It's the real kind of kickoff of the holiday season, I feel. So
Turkey Day.
Yeah, you have that on the back end. But the very beginning of November, we went to San Diego Historicon.
We did. It was awesome.
And there was like a full video about that, and there's all sorts of interviews and things that you'll see. Some of them are already up, but you'll see more of those coming in the future as well.
Yeah, I wish we would have done more interviews, but we did what we could do.
Yes.
And still play games.
We weren't there it's not a long convention.
No.
Like it's like WBC is very
It's
long,
a week.
and we're there for a long time, so it's easy to squeeze them in. There's only so much time there.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of funny, because at the end of the last day, we were like, we hadn't got our rental car yet, and it was around 4-ish, and I think we realized, the rental car place closes.
The rental club closes at 3 p.m. on a Sunday.
And we're like,
we were sat outside, it was 4, it was like, oh no.
So we kind of had to dump what we were doing. We finished the game of In the Shadows, which was really good.
Very good.
By the way, from GMT Games with Dan Bullock, and then ran out the door, hailed an Uber. I thought we were going to die on the way over because the guy was literally watching the Eagles-Cowboys game on his phone.
Good for him.
Because I'm a crazy sports fan too, but I'm like, I was waiting to die.
Well, it's like
literally.
I would have done that, but not with other people in the car.
Well, sure. It was interesting. So.
But we got there and it was fine. But
Yeah.
It was San Diego Historicon was really fun. It was really enjoyable. Had a great time. We met a lot of different people there from the industry.
And some amazing people that I don't think come to the United States that often, like Matthias Kramer. I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was really, really cool.
Really cool. Maurice Suckling, he's kind of on the East Coast, and we'd never met him, but played several of his games. That was great.
Yeah.
And then content creators. I mean, we met a ton of people.
Yeah,
so.
it was a lot of like, hey, we talk online a lot, but we finally met a lot of these people in person, and that was really neat. And it was, it's a little small convention, so it was very cozy.
Yeah.
So that was very enjoyable. We played a lot of games.
We played 11 total games.
In about 2.5 days.
2.5 days. We didn't get there until 4 p.m. on the Friday because of
the odyssey
flights.
Getting there.
But all that being said, we still played 11 different games.
Yeah.
And played those games, with the exception of maybe one or two, to full conclusion.
Yeah,
which was crazy.
A number of those little small format games, which was great because it's like, hey, let's kind of get this in and do this.
Yeah.
And some of those were some of the best ones that we played.
Well, Night Witches was great. Very small, short game. In the Shadows was great. Solitaire. Or no, I'm sorry. Firefight Tactical. We didn't finish that scenario. We played about 45 minutes and had to.
It was over. I lost.
It was really cool though. That game was very cool. Lenin's Death coming up from GMT Games.
Peace 1905.
Oh, that was such a good game.
I think that was one of my favorite games we played.
From Maurice, and I think Fort Circle's gonna kickstart that one.
That was such a cool game.
Very cool. Very different. It's not necessarily a traditional style of war game, but there's a lot of negotiation. There's a lot of games within the game, and that was kind of fun.
Yeah,
Enjoyed it.
Definitely.
How am I going to use this card to get you, but get what I need, and not get it too bad because I don't want to tick you off and make your tension go up. And
I like all the stuff we were doing in that game, and I'm glad it was only like 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was about a 40-minute game.
Because in the Euro game space, sometimes you play that for like an hour.
2.5. Yeah. Well, and it was exhausting too.
It's draining.
I remember feeling, damn, I'd rather push counters around the board because I don't get tired like that. But
it's mentally like,
oh yeah, very very different.
Very cool game.
Very much, and the Promised Land was really good from Matthias Kramer on the Arab Israeli kind of wars over the
Over the
30-year
span of, like,
period.
Yeah, 40 or 50 years.
60s, 70s, and 80s, I think, basically, or was it 70s,
I think it
80s, and
starts
90s?
in 54
Okay.
and goes till 79 or 80,
Got it.
something
Yeah,
like
so
that.
like those 20 to 30 years.
That was such a good game.
And that felt a lot more like a war game in some regards, but it had a lot of
Yeah.
machinations behind the scene that were political, trying to get you set up for war, right?
And it was the flow of peace and war and peace and war and peace and war.
Yeah.
I've never seen in a game where it was satisfactory. And
Yeah.
you got to like really see it and do it.
Yeah.
It was a really stunning design.
And it was very satisfying to play that. Like
Yeah.
and we didn't finish it, but it was very interesting, and I enjoyed that one quite a lot.
Yeah, it just looks at conflict differently than a lot of the games
Yeah.
that we play. So
But don't declare war when you have 3 or 4 cards in your hand,
Yeah.
only 3 or 4 cards in your hand, and no war events, and they're all ones.
yeah,
Not a good idea. Learn from my mistake. Don't do that.
yeah, that one's a ways out, but I look forward to that one coming.
I thought it was hilarious, though. Matthias was like, yeah, go ahead and declare war. And I'm like, okay.
Absolute disaster.
And then we started doing this. I'm like, wow, that was terrible.
We got to see
But-
what happened. But
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And I'm glad we did it because we got to see that part of the game. We also played Liberty or Death, with
Yes.
this celebrity game of Liberty or Death. I have no idea why they call it a celebrity game, but
They have a map that's like 4 times the size
Yeah.
of the regular map.
yeah.
And they use 28mm painted figurines and 3D printed fort pieces.
Yeah, it was
and
very cool.
All sorts of different things. It was really, really cool.
And it was
fun to kind of.
It was fun to play. We had the French, never my favorite faction in that game, but I thought we actually almost won. We were so close.
We were-
And in case you were wondering, there was tons of sarcasm in my post on that. I was like, Harold was being a sore loser. I mean, that it was fun, right? We
Yes.
were having a good
Everyone was
time.
having a wonderful
I'm very glad Candace and Cole won. You're welcome, by the way. Sarcasm.
Yeah, they won on the tiebreaker.
Yes.
So is it really a win?
Probably not, but it counted. But that was a blast. I had a great time, and it just reinforced to me how great the coin system is, and how even though we haven't played that one for a while, we got back into it, and I was like, bam,
Well, and it was
Got
fun
it.
to get back to
Yep.
this as well.
yep, very fun. So
Yes.
we played Liberty or Death, and I will never pass up an opportunity to play
Yeah.
most coin series games, and definitely not Liberty or Death anywhere, and that was great.
We also played John Company
Yeah.
whilst we were there. We played a big 6-player game of this. No, we played with. Oh, you should have done it.
I know.
I
Well,
just put it away.
all right.
It might still be good.
My only complaint about that whole
Yeah.
game, my only complaint is the storage system in it is horrific.
Like everything fits in, but it doesn't lock.
Nope.
And so you get that millimeter of lift lid, and it
Just spreads
stuff
everywhere.
Spills if you store it vertically.
Yeah.
Not great.
Yeah, that's the only thing I don't like about it. It's a second edition. Everything's been upgraded and upscaled and improved, and fun game. I mean,
Yeah.
John Company will be a game that I will play at any time, anywhere.
This will be a convention staple that we will.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's also, to me, has a very defined time, like playtime.
Sure.
Whereas a lot of the other war games that we play, it's like,
Yeah.
it could be this, it could be this.
Well, this one's going to go anywhere from I think 3 to 5 turns. I think there is an option you can play. Was it 8?
You can play longer, but like the reality is at a convention, most people want to play just like, let's do the 5.
The 4
Yeah,
4 to 5
you
turn. It's going to take you 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
And it really is fun. It's very interactive. I know this week you shot like not a playthrough video,
More
but a
like
how to
an
play.
instructional teach.
Got it.
So that will come out at some point. It's like an hour long. Hopefully that's helpful of like, this is what it looks like set up. This is kind of what the stuff does. And I kind of go through of like, you will go through all these steps. Here's what all the steps do.
Yeah.
And try to show examples of those things.
I've now played 3 times, and I think by that third play, I think I really understand what I'm supposed to be doing. It's still the concept of there's a little bit of luck.
Oh, yeah.
And when you roll the dice to retire, even though you have a fat stack of cash sitting there ready to buy some swanky mansions for your dudes, if you don't roll, is it a 5 or a 6 to retire?
Yes.
And if you have an exhaustion cube, you could roll a 4 and retire. If you have 2, you could roll a 3, 4, 5, or 6. I continually roll 1s and 2s when I'm trying to retire dudes. And anyway, but a blast.
Yeah,
Always a good time.
We played that 6-player at the con, played with Harold Buchanan, played it with Maurice Suckling. It was such a good game. I always love playing John Company.
Yeah,
And then that was fun.
And we also played this with 4 players later in the month.
Yes.
At the bunker here.
Yeah, so we got some people together. We played John Company again. We played a 5-player. It was just 4. 1, 2.
It was just 4.
It was just
me, you, Russ, and Chris.
Ed was going to come, but he got sick the day before.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, we played John Company.
I don't think we need to invite Ed any longer.
Hey man, I'd rather he stay away
Let's see.
if he's sick.
Oh no, I get it. But that same day, we played the laugh out loud, take that, kick me in the teeth card game, light civ building game.
Yeah.
Ancient Civilizations of the Middle East. So from GMT Games. It's a fun game. I enjoy it. I think we've played both of the entries in the series. I've had a good time with both. I would not want to have a good time for the 4 epochs and the 4 or 5 hours to finish that game. To me, it's good in a 1 or 2 epoch kind of amount. Agreed. Because you're going to have a good time. You're going to get taken advantage of and take advantage of others and have a good time and a lark. And then
this is a game that could overstay its welcome.
I would agree with that.
All the rounds in all the epochs, that's a long game. And for what you're doing, but...
because there's a lot of randomness, right? There's a lot of randomness in the cards. There's not randomness in the combat. The combat basically boils down to, I've got 3 or 4 units, you've got 2 or 3 units, I'm basically going to win that combat. And then you
spend coin
or cards, and that can change it, but there's no dice rolling for combat. Yeah. It doesn't drag it out. But it's a light, fun, and interesting game. Like I said, I've enjoyed it every time we've played.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of which, there's a full review for this coming out.
Yep.
And we got a full review for this
and
as well.
A play.
And an instructional teach video, which will be separate because otherwise the video would just be unconscionably long.
Sure.
So you can look forward to that coming up on the channel, which is exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, but we had actually and then we played, you've got a couple more over there.
Yeah, we did. So we played...
I was jumping ahead of ourselves.
Iron, Blood, Snow, and Mud.
I really, really, really enjoyed this game.
Yeah, very different from what we normally play, right?
Only thing I didn't like about it was the ending.
Yeah, that's not unreasonable.
We drew, right? In our one play, we had a draw. And it just never feels good to have a draw. but the reality is, plays in 90 minutes.
Yes.
Shorter
if it
game.
Goes the full time, there's sudden death. It could end sooner. But this is, again, there's a review for this coming. It is this very thinky, slightly puzzly, tactical game.
Maneuver-oriented, supply-focused game. And I think it's really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've never played anything that's quite like it.
Yep.
And it was great to see it again because I was demoed this like a year and a half ago, and I'm glad that it's kind of finally out and people can play this.
Yeah.
Because I have to talk to people about it because it's so different.
Well, and it's just, I just feel like it's a very solid game.
Yeah.
And it is a war game. I mean, it is East Front. You don't have a lot of counters. I think the Germans start with 12 counters on the board, and the Soviets have like 8.
And the Germans might get 1 reinforcement.
There's like one
that kind of game.
One little chit you can pull, but it's a bucket of dice. Each of you throw 3 to 5 or 6 dice, and you're trying to total your numbers up and say, oh, I beat you, and if you double someone, they're destroyed. I had a good time with it. Right? It's interesting to think about what you have to do, where you've got to go, your axes of advance, and then your supply lines, because you've got these cool little partisans as the Soviets. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. The only thing I didn't like is the Germans were, I had Moscow surrounded, right? But there are 3 hexes of Moscow, and you've got to control all 3 of those while Stalin, the little Stalin meeple, is there. And I think I took 2, and the next turn I was obviously going to take the 3rd, and you did the retreat Stalin or DD Mao, right? And you rolled a die, and I think it was a 50-50 shot whether he gets out or not. So I didn't hate that part of it so much, but I think you rolled a 1, and that's what you needed. And
he left,
like,
and at that point the game was over.
Yeah.
because you had to go and like.
Well, you have like 1 or 2 more turns after that, or I did, and I would have to get over there and kind of do the same thing, and he would not be able to escape at that point. But getting enough units to get over there may be challenging. Now, I would say this, first play,
Oh, without question.
and
yes.
maybe I would have done a couple things differently. We talked about it, like maybe that Army Group South would have continued on to put pressure so you don't locate it where I can't get to it.
Well, and of all the games, I think a lot of East Front games, especially today, focus on this, where like the Germans have to have like peak efficiency, or they can't do it.
Yeah.
And it's even more prevalent at this scale where you have like 12 counters on the board.
Sure.
You have to maximize everything you do so that it doesn't take you 2 turns to take Kiev. You take it in 1 turn. So that you
I
can
think
move on from there.
Smolensk was the area where me as the Germans really bogged down. It took me 2 or 3 turns to get that, and I think had I realized what that would lead to, I would have bum rushed it a little more and taken it out. But ultimately, in the end, it's a light bucket of dice style hex encounter war game.
But it's like rules light, but there's so much to think and consider.
Yep.
That
A lot of
got
depth.
Great meat for a short game.
Yeah.
Like, it's very, very good.
Well, and it's beautiful too. I mean, the board I thought was really attractive.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, wow, this is a beautiful game. Iron, Blood, Snow, and Mud. Say that in German. No.
I believe it's Eisen, Blut, Schnee, und Mud. I don't know what mud is in German.
Yeah.
I don't know that, but I know.
Anyway, good game. Good little game from Phalanx. Really, really enjoyed that. We also played.
We played another East Front game. We do a lot of East Front games.
Well, and this was just a classic. I mean, I get why it's now in its 5th edition.
Yes.
Right.
So this is the Russian campaign deluxe 5th edition from GMT Games. This has been around for forever. I actually have the reprint 1974 Compass Games edition that they did like last year.
Yep.
I don't even I guess we bought that. I don't really remember.
Yeah, who knows? Or you got it in a trade or something.
I think I bought it after I played the African campaign and really liked it. That must have been what it was.
Yeah.
That sounds like something I would do. But that's still on the shelf. But it's basically the same as this. But this has all the updated rules and some bolt-ons, a ton of optional rules and stuff.
And I think they updated the art as well. Not necessarily the cover art, but the map, and they added a little tile where you can take away, I think, the mountains outside of Lvov.
Yeah, there's
I think it was
6 pages of optional rules.
Yeah.
That have just accrued over 50 years.
From the different editions. So you can play it however you want. I think that's one of its strong points.
Yeah.
It does use, in my opinion, a very classic style of attack, except the Stukas and the Sturmoviks, they like add 3 columns to it. That is incredibly amazing.
Very, very strong.
But the combat system is fairly simple, but you do have to attack with every unit that's in an enemy zone of control. And I don't know that I've played a lot of games that require, we have played some.
Yeah.
I don't know that every game requires that.
And ones that do, that's like a very interesting part of
It is.
games. I always enjoy that in games.
Because you cannot have a unit that's attacking at a 1-to-1 or less because you just didn't set him up in the right position. And you do kind of have a free setup. Now, I think the Germans go first and the Soviets go second in the setup.
Oh, that's a great question. It varies by scenario as well.
But
yes.
It creates some really interesting and thinky parts about the first part of the game and the setup, and then how you're going to go about attacking. And then furthermore, it's a double attack. It's a double move, double attack impulse. So you have to, is it attack? No, it's move all your attacks for the first impulse while you sit there
and do nothing.
And then you do your moves again with attacks again, and then the impulse is over and switches over to the other side. So you really can't get into position to attack. Like at the start of that first impulse.
Yeah, that first impulse is you not just like shooting everyone. It's like I'm moving and preparing.
Right.
To open up holes so my exploit units in the second
can move
can
and
run
attack.
Through,
yeah.
Because if you start in a zone of control in that second impulse, you can't do anything.
Yeah, certain units can. I think there were some units that could, even if they started in an enemy. Well, they had the colors on them.
Yeah, that means they can do it in the
Exploitation
second
move,
impulse.
got it.
But if you're in that zone of control to start
it's
with,
done.
you can't do anything.
Just really fascinating, and I think that's an ultra classical way of doing that.
Well, yeah, and I think this game's been around for a very long time. I would say, like, the majority of wargamers have played some iteration of this who have been in the hobby for any amount of
Well, and I've been embarrassed that we haven't, so I'm glad that we got our copy and we got it played. Would love to play it again. We played like the 8-turn case Fall Blau scenario, I think, and I think we got through 6 turns, and it was obvious that it was kind of
it was
probably not done well as far as my strategic and tactical decisions, but really had a good time with it. I'd play it again in a heartbeat. It's a 2-map or
this is a
2-mapper. And I'm trying to think if they have any single map scenarios. I don't think they do.
No, but I think because
it's long.
South, I don't think they do it that way.
But a great game. I would play it again in a heartbeat. Yeah. And once again, I can see why people have liked it, commented about it, thought of it so well. And
it's just like a solid classic war game.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
The time is 3:15, 22nd June, 1941, the Russian campaign. Epic. Epic.
I believe... Okay, I think that's all the physical games that we played this month. We played some Frosthaven.
Yes, with our father-in-law. Actually, for the first time in months, I think.
Yeah, that one's...
And it was very enjoyable. I retired my trapper, which was kind of fun. My little vermling trapper. And
we played that on Thanksgiving. We played a couple of scenarios, and I was like, oh, I remember why I love this game so much.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, and I'm like...
I think the last time we played was in late August.
I think so too. So
and it's been a while.
2-3 months almost.
Yeah, so it was good to get back to it. Really had a good time. I'm getting ready to start the Bone Shaper, which is kind of the necromancer, summon skellies and
I'm very
wraiths
to see
and
what that's like.
But it's a support character. They're going to take out no hits because they're going to be in the back. So it's going to be interesting.
I played a summoner in Gloomhaven, and it was really fun because it's tough to manage and stuff, but they can be very cool.
Sure. Yeah, looking forward to it. So, and then we played Entrenched, which is a little Kickstarter game I got. It's a World War I card game. The rules were horrifically written. I think by the we actually didn't get the full game in because we did it at the airport as we were sitting there for lunch. We had to go to the plane, but I think we were starting to get it and understand it, even in spite of the rules.
Yeah, the rules in the box aren't good.
No. And then the
rules on BGG
are better, but still not great. I actually printed those off and they're at my house.
Okay, well,
I think ultimately it's a 20 to 30 minute World War I card game.
Probably if you know the rules, it's probably even shorter.
Yeah.
It's not like, lining up cards. Some of them are in trenches, and some of them are defending. And you tap them, and we'll get there.
Yeah, interesting little concept, but poorly executed as far as rules. So, and then we played a ton on Rally the Troops.
I think I reached 75 plays of Andean Abyss so far.
See, do you go down and count though? I don't know how you're figuring out how your plays are.
Every time I complete a game of it, I log it on Board Game Geek. So that's how I've done that.
Okay, well, I am not doing that. I can go down and count my completed games, but I'm not going to do that. That's crazy.
Well, you only have to do it once.
That's insane.
Then you put that in. And
All
then
right.
You just
Why would I want... I don't want to do that.
Well, I wanted to do it...
Sure, just to see...
what that would look like.
It is so interesting, because I would say I've probably played 35 or 40, so about half as much, because I've started 3 months later than you. I feel like I implicitly understand every one of those factions.
Yes.
How to do things, what I need to do. I'm still not great at it.
No, but you know the rules well.
And it's so interesting because I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, I've got to do this to stop this, or this is going to end pretty quick.
Yeah, and no one else is helping.
Well, and that's the tough part. There are times I want to like say, hey, AUC guy, could you please do a terror on the... Can you do something? The fart guy's getting ready to win and they're not doing it. And that's fine. But I wish, because you have to do a little message, and then half the time they don't read it. I don't read them. I mean,
I do.
So I've got 25 games going. So, I don't have time.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
but I love that game.
I do too.
I I kind of was taking a break from it where I was in fewer games, but now I'm kind of like ramp that back up because everyone wants to play it.
I think I'm in 13 right now.
Of just Andy and Abyss?
Yep, and then I think I have 12 Time of Crisis, and I have 2 Red Flag over Paris right now. I have not branched out that much. I really need to branch out.
I'm probably in like 5 or 6 Andy and Abyss, 5 or 6 Time of Crisis. I think I'm in about 5 Wilderness War. I think I'm in about 3 Nevsky. I've got a Field of the Cloth of Gold. I've been a Hammer of the Scots. I've been a Rommel in the Desert. And I think that's where I'm at with it.
I'm going to play, is it Waterloo or Gettysburg? It's Waterloo.
Waterloo's on
Waterloo.
there.
I want to play Waterloo.
I opened up, they just put Algeria up there.
I want to play that one too.
I opened it and was like, I got to close that.
Got it.
That requires a
little more study.
Reading and it's very, very involved. But all of those games. Oh, and a PAX premiere as well. Yay! Those games are kind of like will always be just like being ticked over.
Yeah.
Just.
Well, if you don't know what Rally the Troops is, it's an online implementation of all of these games. Rules are enforced. Beautiful graphics. Beautiful interface.
It's a labor of love. It's totally free. And
yeah.
It's excellent.
And I don't know why it's free, because it is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
But
it's administered by a guy called Tor, and he does an incredible job with it. And I'm very grateful for his efforts to do that, because it has enabled me to play way more games.
Oh yeah.
And get back to like some games that we played previously that otherwise probably wouldn't have revisited in that depth.
Like Andy and Abyss. I mean, I've played 40 times, and you're like, oh,
we
really
could never have done that in
No.
person.
No, just impossible.
Yeah, that's not reasonable, but it's.
You take your turn,
and
then an hour to 2 or 3 hours later, somebody else is taking their turns, and it's your turn again.
Yeah,
and
or in a fast one, I take my turn in the morning, I'll do one on my lunch break, and I'll do
one in the evening.
Great, I've done 3 turns of a 60-turn game. That goes by pretty quickly.
Sometimes people do, and I appreciate it, they'll do way more turns than that. I'm in some games where people are doing a turn an hour, and I can't do it at work, right? I try to ignore it because I get dings. I have my phone set up so it's like ding, ding, ding when I'm like, I can't do it, and I do it over lunch. I'll spend like the whole hour eating my sandwich and then doing my games on my phone mostly.
They also just added the feature where you can kind of set the pace of the game
Yeah.
when you start one, which that was a really nice addition.
Yeah,
So
people don't really follow that though.
No, but
frankly.
you could
because all mine are set up as fast, and I have people that come in. Some of them who come in and don't. They take one turn a day,
But
and I'm like,
if
man.
you can only commit to one turn a day, you can do it the
slow one,
and so
yeah.
then people can't complain about it,
Right?
Because they know, and that's you should enjoy it.
But it's ruining my life.
It's
frankly.
Such a great platform, and I am just loving playing some of these games.
No doubt.
Over and over again, and getting that depth of experience.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that's everything that we played.
It's a lot.
November, yeah,
it's a lot.
So December, we will continue to play all those different games on Rally the Troops. That's kind of a given at this point. Today, we're recording this on December 1st. We actually have, vaguely half set up on a table, Imperium Romanum 3, or Al Nofi's Imperium Romanum, from Decision Games.
And you said it's a 3rd edition? Is that what it is?
Yes.
And we played this like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And had a blast with
it. When
it.
it first came out, I think it was 2017, maybe? 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like an initial impressions video that you can go and watch.
I'm not sure I want to watch that because I
watched some of it.
Yeah, I'm worried.
Honestly, I watched it back and I was like, yeah, it wasn't bad.
I'm more worried what you sounded like.
No. It was fine. But we have a friend coming over. We're going to do a big 3-player scenario of this.
I hope it goes well.
Yeah.
I do. I hope it goes well.
We'll see.
But it's a huge Hex Encounter war game, and it's on the Roman Empire. So what's not to like?
And I'm excited to kind of get back to this.
Yeah.
To see what 5 years worth of more
experience
will make it hopefully a bit easier.
Yeah. And I would say for Decision Games, this is probably one of their A+ productions, right?
Yes.
So, sometimes their games are okay. This one I think is really well done. I think the maps are great looking.
And they're very big.
Yep.
And they're in this big box because they're only folded twice instead of the usual 4 times.
4 times.
So it's a bit it's nicer when you lay it out.
Well, and I think the counters have some nice graphics. They're simple, but they're nice. But this plays 2 to 6 players. You know,
Yeah,
and
there's some really big scenarios.
we're doing a 3-player scenario, and I'm excited. I'm excited to try it.
Yeah.
So
that's a big one this month.
What else are we going to try to play this month?
We're going to try and play North Africa 41.
Here, let me dig that out. I don't know why I keep lugging all these games back and forth. We never play them. It's not true. We play a ton of games. Yeah, North Africa 41 in Simonich's Zachban series. Although this is, I think, very different than many of the others. Has a lot of different elements.
It's like a retread of some other game.
Yeah,
that he
Rommel
had done.
something. Where is it?
But he's brought it into the Zachban system.
Yep.
But there's no Zachbans in it.
Right. Well, North Africa really didn't lend itself to that kind of...
Exactly.
And the game's a lot about supply, as you might imagine. There are a lot of supply hexes. There's temporary supply, like drops that deplete over time. I always find that interesting.
And all the various different ports and how much supply you could get through those and can get through those, all that kind of stuff.
That cover art, Antonis Caritas, is just freaking amazing. Now, the only thing I don't like about the game, and I mentioned this in my unboxing video, is it has a mounted map, and there are two
right?
mounted maps, but now, look, there's a...
They don't fit in the box.
Yeah, it's just so... It's so frustrating to someone who is obsessive compulsive like myself. When I look at that, I'm like, ew, it just makes me feel icky. Although it's a beautiful game, and
And the reality is it doesn't need the mounted maps.
I've got the paper maps, and ultimately I may decide after we play it whether I need
If you're
it.
going to do mounted maps, give me a box for the mounted maps.
Well, all you needed was another half-inch, and it would have fit.
Yeah,
Can you just do that? That's one thing about GMT that I would like to tell them, please think about that. And they do that in some of the games. Time of Crisis Deluxe Edition has a full 3-inch box, and all that stuff is going to go in there. I'm trying to think of other games that they've offered mounted map boards and they have bigger boxes for, but they've done several of those. Labyrinth, they've done several.
That always had a mounted map, though, I think.
Did it?
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway.
It may have had a paper one at first.
This is what I fear when we get into these, because we act like we talk like stuff we don't know about.
But like I have Ardennes 44 with paper maps. I have the mounted maps, but they don't fit in the box, so they're just kind of behind it on the shelf. And, it's like,
and I may take that suggestion, just put them in a bag and put them behind the shelf, but that's odd
you kept
to me.
The bag from those.
I do. I have it. It's in. But I really am looking forward to this. I enjoy North Africa games.
Yes.
We've played a couple, and I've always enjoyed them. The most recent one we played was the Dark series, Dark Sands.
Dark Sands, yeah.
Really enjoyed that one. Shitpole. But I also enjoy Simonich's games because they're just so interesting and ultimately playable. And I like the Zachban system, although this doesn't have the Zachbans traditionally. But I like the way it works and works together, and I'm looking forward to how this works because it's different. North Africa is just a different animal.
It was cool. There was at least 2 tables of this going at San Diego Historicon, so it's fun to watch people playing it and see it all set up. That's always it helps to keep the juices flowing. I'm like, oh yeah, we got to get this to the table. I watch these people playing. It looks awesome.
So I'm going to leave this one here this month. I'm not carrying it back, and we are going to play it, right?
Absolutely.
Please.
This is like next up on the docket.
But we have so many other games we got to play, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, but this
and so many that I want to play.
We've been talking about this for months, and I want to play it.
Agreed. All right, we're playing that one. Alexander said it. We're doing it. We do what he says.
Yes.
Is that okay? That I said that?
We definitely don't.
Please don't beat me later.
The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Until productivity improves. Yes, or morale, either one. I'm gonna threaten again to do Global War, but I'm still messing around with That Others May Live.
Okay, do you like that game?
Do I like that game? That's a hell of a question.
Okay, that's what
because I'm gonna say I'm not sure I like it.
Because people will ask you and be like, "Oh, no, Grant's been playing it," and I was like, "He's played it a few times, but I do not know what his opinion is."
I want to like it. I like a lot about it. I didn't play NATO Commander, which was kind of the first game, and it's kind of a similar series. I don't know. I think the rules aren't as good as he thinks they are, which always bothers me. Because, it's just me figuring it out by myself.
Solo games, need to have a good rulebook.
And
Absolutely.
I'm just not sure the rules are that great. I think some of the mechanics are very cool and very interesting and unique. I don't know. There's a lack of compellingness. Is that a word?
It is now.
Now, I've played it 3 or 4 times. I am absolutely horrifically terrible at it.
Sure.
But I need to actually understand better what I'm doing before I speak about it, because I don't want to tear it up and have someone be upset about it and I miss something.
Sure.
Right? But I think at this point, I would say it's an interesting game because of the topic.
Without question, that's the most interesting.
It is interesting what you are doing. I'm not sure it all fits together as well as I would like it to fit together and work together. And then I still think some of the cards are very vague as well. So there ends up being a lot of guessing.
Right.
And when I'm playing a solo game, I don't want to have to do that.
Yes.
So, but I'll keep playing it. And the other one that I've been playing is the Battle for Mackinac Island. Really enjoy that from Snafu.
A small format
Very
game.
simple game. It's a 1 to 2 player game. So I'm just playing the solo mode. Very enjoyable. I'm terrible at it.
Is there enough in there for it to be consistently enjoyable after a few plays?
Yes, because it's all about what happens, because you're drawing the chits for the enemy. You're also rolling your dice when you choose your actions, and certain enemy actions, you choose your actions, then you draw the chit. Some of their actions cancel your actions. So it's very, and you got to kind of think, okay, I got to do this, but I know this could happen, and you just got to understand that. Sometimes you got to soften up certain areas too before you move in. It's fun. It's light. Now, is it a deep, play it 1,000 times game? Probably not. I played it 3 or 4 and I'm still enjoying it, but I'll do some stuff on that. But I am going to try Global War from White Dog Games because I love this system. Ben Madison, States of Siege, but different. So, yeah, that's what I'm playing this month. Book it.
Yes, yes.
What are you playing this month?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Solitaire-wise?
I tell myself I'm going to do lots of things. So
And the month comes and goes, and you're like, I didn't do quite as many things as I wanted to.
I will continue to tell myself I'm going to play A Glorious Chance.
Damn it, I want to play that game.
But what I will
But it
do
does
is
scare
I will
me.
set it up, and I will teach myself how to play it, and then we can play it.
Okay, because I do want to play that game.
Me too. It looks very cool.
It looks very cool.
A topic that's neat.
Have you clipped yours? Because I've clipped mine.
I'm pretty sure I clipped
Okay.
it, yeah.
So I clipped mine, and it's all organized, and I've even started looking at the rules, but I just haven't gotten brave enough to
Yeah, I just need to
get it out.
suck it up and do it, basically.
Yeah.
Also,
But it looks good from Legion War Games. I mean, it's a neat looking game. Gina Willis, yeah.
We might play Blood and Plunder this month.
Oh, yeah. Did we ever respond to him?
I have not responded, but
Okay.
I saw that we're trying to maybe organize a game of
Because
Blood and Plunder.
I am off work. I have
Yes.
4 vacation days I have to burn. So I'm taking the 26th, 7th, 8th, and 9th off. So any one of those days, I could come up here for the whole day and we could play that.
And that's pretty much what... So
Yeah.
that's a big miniatures game. We bought Blood and Plunder at Gen Con.
Well, it's a Pirates miniature game, too,
Yeah,
right?
it's-
Frontier, Pirates,
yes.
17th century,
I'm very excited to have
16th
someone
century.
bring their stuff
And teach
for us
us.
to play it.
Yeah, pretty excited.
So that
Matt Shirley is his name. He's from, I believe he's from, I want to say Missouri, but maybe I'm drawing a blank, or maybe I'm.
I honestly don't
Yeah.
know. But hopefully we can get that done this month as well. That'd be really
Yeah. All right.
I think that's everything that we realistically will play.
Yeah.
But it's Imperium
Big,
Bottom,
big plans.
North Africa's the big one, and then everything else on top.
Blood
of
and
that
Plunder,
will
and
be
yeah.
fun.
All
Okay.
right. So what about Kickstarter?
So we have a few things going on. We have Blitz 40.
Yeah, armies and alliances. Blitz 40.
I believe that's from Cadet Games.
Cadet Games, yes.
And that is on GameFound,
It's on GameFound. Yep.
which is, for anyone who doesn't know, that is a slightly different crowdfunding website
Yeah.
than Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It's just a crowdfunding website.
I don't really know what's better about it, but I know some people have gone over to that, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think it's
So-
a different UI and different people running it, but
Yeah.
it functions similarly.
But the armies and alliance, the ANA, Axis and Allies, it does throw back to that, but the reason they use that is because they are using little minis, right? Sculpted plastic minis for your infantry and your armor and your planes, and they're very, very cool looking. We played Hue 72
Yes, one of their 2 Vietnam games.
Although embarrassingly, the video I think was corrupted,
Yes.
which
We shot a review of that.
hurts me so bad because I actually had a good time with that game.
Yes.
We needed to play it again, but I did enjoy it. And I'm sad that it didn't work out. But anyway, it's on GameFound.
Yes.
And it's on GameFound for like 45 or 60 more days. They do long campaigns.
Yes.
So they don't
they're a
do...
small company.
Yeah, they got to build the... we have an interview coming out with them. But the other 3 are on Kickstarter. The first one is Enemies Are at the Gate. The Battle of Berlin 1985, designed by Adam Starkweather for Compass Games. It uses the company scale system. What's the company scale system, you might ask?
The company scale system is Compass Games' answer to GTS, Grand Tactical System.
And it's so good. I mean, it's company scale. It's so interesting and unique.
Yeah, you have
Love
lots
it.
of companies and...
Support weapons within those companies. And you attach those.
Very
and
rich and it's very crunchy.
I really enjoy that.
It is a meaty wargame system.
It is. Agreed.
And I look forward to that.
Yeah. We need to get a copy of that.
I also feel like we haven't played any Battle of Berlin games.
Well, we have not played many 1985 Cold War gone hot style games. We've played a couple. Where is it? Storming the Gap and World at War 85. We played that at WBC. But
then we played MBT, which
is... MBT, yep. But yeah, this is Cold War gone hot, 1985. Yeah. So anyway, that's out on Kickstarter from Compass. The other 2 Kickstarters are The Other Side of the Hill from Knack War Games. Very interesting, Eurocentric. Some say it looks like Republic of Rome. I've never played Republic of Rome.
No, but that is I've heard that a lot.
It's like modeled
style of game, but you play as a German high command at the end of the war, I believe.
That I'm not really sure.
Where everyone's vying for power, right?
Yeah.
I don't exactly know.
Well, it's so interesting, and if you're interested, on our website we have a link to their Kickstarter page that actually gives a hell of a lot of information. But I was reading through it, this was a week or 2 ago, because I did an interview with the guy, Carlos Marquez. I hope I'm remembering that correctly. Sorry. But it talks about how the beginning of the war, and I'm assuming that's in 1940, 1941, so it must cover that period. You got to try to win as many victories as possible to gain favor in that command structure, so that during the end of the war, as you're getting trounced and beat,
you can leverage your former prestige.
Yes, you can say, well, I won this. And so I really don't understand how it physically is going to play out. I've read some things and looked at some stuff, but it looks fascinating.
Yeah, it's a very abstract board with lots of tracks and holding boxes. And
that is a game that I 100% want to play.
And it's a multiplayer.
Yeah, it's like, I think it plays up to 4.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what that looks like.
But that one's already funded. It has already hit its funding goal, so now they're just going towards more stretch goals, I think. And the 4th one is 1793, Patriots and Traitors, the French Revolution, from Sound of Drums Games. Very interesting looking game on the French Revolution. It's a card-driven game, so and it's really well produced. If you remember that prototype of the game that we played, that ultimately we didn't get through and didn't enjoy and we couldn't end up doing a review because there was just too many issues with it. But this one looks really good, and I think they've learned some lessons from things. I think they've improved, and their production is absolutely beautiful. The map looks great. The cards look great.
And they also just did a Napoleonic's game.
Yep.
That I saw some pictures of that look stunning. So I really think...
Alau, I think it is.
Yeah, I think...
And I regret not maybe covering that in some way, shape, or form. But
I think their production has, at this point, proved itself, especially for a newer, smaller company. And I don't know if you saw...
they're partnering with Assault Games.
Assault Games and Sound of Drums just did they signed like a partnership.
Yeah.
Where,
a tripartite agreement? Is that what you're...
But basically...
Between Switzerland and Germany, and I'm just
something
kidding.
like that.
Yeah.
But basically, Assault Games are going to use Sound of Drum for production and distribution, which is really also good news, because I'm like, Assault Games have, their big tactical system and some other stuff looking forward to it, but like, If you could
If
get
their
on there,
production
see
improves,
production
yeah.
values, that's even better than what they do give.
Yeah, I did see you retweeted that
That's
on X.
very, very neat.
Yeah. But that's a game. It has also funded. I think I want to say their goal was like 60,000 or maybe it's 35,000. They're right at the mark, but there's still 2 or 3 weeks left. Definitely a game that I'm interested in. I'm trying to reach out to the designer to get an interview. I'm afraid it's not going to come out before the campaign, but
also, it's one of those things. I don't know if you've ever played any French Revolution games.
Oh,
Of
no.
that scale, that are wargamey ones.
No.
So that's also something I'm looking forward to.
yeah, Levy en Masse I played, but it's States of Siege, so you don't really get. But this is a card-driven game and looks pretty interesting. So, yeah, those are the 4 that I'm aware of. There may be others, but those are the 4 that I know of.
I'm sure there always is.
Yep.
But yeah, that's what we got going on there. So that's everything that's kind of on crowdfunding and Kickstarter at the moment. What we'll do is we'll have a quick word from our sponsor, Noble Knight Games. So very grateful for...
wow, what a great word.
I mean...
A quick word? Was that a quick word?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was. Yeah. It was a quick word. Mostly it was music and written on the screen. But we're very grateful for their sponsorship.
Yeah, and as you know, we went to, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
That was like in the 1st of September-ish, October-ish?
Yes, yes.
Had a blast, played games, walked around the warehouse of Doom, where there's more games than you can ever imagine. And I'm consistently on the website. I asked you for our password the other day for our joint account, and because I'd forgotten it like an idiot. And
I had also forgotten it.
And I was looking around, I put some things in the cart, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to buy them yet. But they're sitting in the cart still.
Like, yes, no.
So,
What are you looking at?
Well, you're going to laugh because you're going to hate it.
Probably.
Yes, but I looked at a game called Byzantium by Martin Wallace.
Okay. I don't know if I've ever heard of it.
Probably from the 80s or 90s. And it's a Euro-style war game, and it just looks fascinating. I can't even describe to you why I'm drawn to it, but it looks...
Have you been drawn to it for a while?
I have, and I saw someone was playing it recently, and I thought, I have not thought about that game in like a year. And I
Who's got it?
pulled it up, and it was like $55 for a brand new, unopened copy, which is not a bad price.
No,
it's
a very good price, honestly.
But I said to myself, just think it through, Grant. Think it through. Take a step back. Think it through. And I didn't click buy yet, but it's in the cart.
Before you had asked me all that stuff, like the day before when I was getting out the maps and reading the rules for Imperium Romanum, I was on there looking for like, do they have any Roman-themed dice? Because I'm like, that's something I don't have. It's like
sure
D6s with Roman numerals.
Yeah.
Something with like Imperial Eagles.
Did you
like,
find any? I'm sure you can find them online if you can't find them at Noble Knight.
Yes, but I haven't found it. There's like wooden ones, but I don't like wooden dice.
Got it.
So I'm looking for something that's more convincing. So if you know somewhere that has like
let us know.
Good Roman style D6s, I need them like I need a hole in the head. But I would like to know them.
What game has? I swear we played a game recently that had Roman numeral style dice.
I think
it wasn't a war game necessarily. Anyway,
I think Hannibal and Hamilcar has one.
Did they? Okay.
I think so, and I think Successors might have one.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking about.
But the Pendragon has them, but those
you're right.
Those are D4s on D8s.
Yes.
And a
little bit different.
Which is a shame.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's something that I'm looking for still. But yeah, Noble Knight, they're wonderful people. Support them.
Yeah.
Sell them your old games and buy new ones from them.
I mean, that's what we all do, right?
So let's move on to the main topic of today's discussion.
And I will, let me say, we're starting to, I feel like we're starting to run out of some topics that might be interesting and unique. But maybe that's just me.
We had a lot of suggestions.
But they're complex, and I don't have time to like do a thesis on these things before
lists of things, which I also don't know if that's interesting to people. Whether like, what's all your best solo games? And it's like,
and you know what? We've done several of those. We have 2 videos on the YouTube channel, and I have like 3 written pieces on my favorite solos.
Maybe we should just update those. those and
Yeah.
do new ones of those. So it's a separate thing.
I mean,
It's
we
easy to
could
find.
do that for a monthly. I bring that up only because I feel like I'm struggling now a little bit to really come up with something that is interesting, engaging, and I don't think this topic is bad.
No.
My guess is it won't be as well received as some other topics, but that's just my opinion.
But it also might not be.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see.
Based on past view numbers, when we do non-wargame related stuff, it doesn't always do as good.
Sure.
But that's my
probably not
opinion.
reasonable.
So
But
just don't beat me later.
today we're going to talk about kind of Ameritrash style games.
Yeah.
This topic was suggested to us through our Patreon account by a gentleman by the name of Larry. I met him at WBC and played Fire in the Lake with him. He's a really cool guy.
I didn't get a chance to meet him.
No, unfortunately. But he wanted to just have, like, what are good suggestions for, like, Ameritrash games for wargamers? And I think before we really kind of stepped into historical wargaming, this was one of my favorite styles of games. Because it's just a war game.
So what is Ameritrash? Let's define what Ameritrash is.
Very loosely, Ameritrash is like originally started with these like big bombastic, typically combat-focused games that were published by American publishers back in the day as like things like Axis and Allies,
Sure.
all those Milton Bradley style games.
So sometimes bucket of dice, right? You're rolling 4 or 5 combat dice, or 6 or 8 or 10 combat dice. I always think they are mostly area control,
Very typically, that's the case.
and you got dudes on a map, right? That's
Yeah.
another slang for the style
Bunch
of
of
game.
guys, pieces, typically plastic,
Right.
Especially these days.
Sometimes minis.
Those, yeah, and then you're gonna have dice combat in some form to resolve that and remove some people's guys fighting really over geographical space
Sure.
and resources.
I would assume Risk is a Ameritrash style game.
Absolutely.
We didn't include it in our list or our discussion, but I'm assuming that was one of the first.
I think that's the progenitor of a lot of these style games.
Combat oriented, control of areas and territories using dice and little pieces.
Yeah.
So that's Ameritrash.
Yeah, that's what we're going.
Basically.
That's what we're going with.
You can disagree
I
with
don't
us,
care
and that's
how
okay.
accurate that is.
Yeah.
That's not what we're doing. Let's talk about Axis and Allies.
Yeah, so we can maybe do this in a series style of approach until we
Yes.
get down to kind of the end where we have some ones and
Within
onesies and twosies. All right, so I only brought some of my Axis and Allies because I wasn't going to, and well, I think this one is secure.
Okay.
I feel like this one is secure as well, but yeah, we got to just spill them. I'll just fix them. Who cares, right? Who cares? Sorry. Yeah, so who amongst us didn't typically start our wargaming careers with something like this? If you were born in the 70s, right? You were born in the...
I was born in the late 80s,
Yeah.
but I still played this.
If you were born in the 70s, you more often than not cut your teeth on war games in something like Axis and Allies. The original Milton Bradley, trying to remember what they were called.
Part of the Game Master series?
Game Master series of games. We all played them, right? And I played every single one of them, and I owned every single one of them at one point. Even, I think Broadsides and Boarding Parties was included in that, but I think as a kid I didn't like that one as much, and we got rid of it. I think I sold it to a friend for an overinflated price, and
Oh, it's really good,
then
mate.
never played with them again.
Yeah.
But because I didn't like it, it was fun. Just I wanted to play these more. But Axis and Allies by Larry Harris, right? It's his invention, his product, and we played War Room from him, and it was
Very good.
very, very good. But Axis and Allies, dudes on a map. You've got little plastic pieces that represent an infantry unit. You put some chips underneath them to represent 5 infantry units, and you have tanks, and you have in the revised edition, you have artillery pieces and destroyers that the original game didn't have. And you might be asking, well, where's your original game, Grant? Well, it's so brittle, I don't want to move it around. Frankly, I left Conquest of the Empire and Fortress America. I left those at home because they're just in bad shape, and I don't want to ruin them.
Because they're well played and well loved.
Yes, I haven't played them in years,
But
but I love those
you had
games.
to.
Me and my brothers played these over and over and over and over again, and they always led to fights, and they always led to throwing of pieces and throwing of dice, and that's fine, right? That was part of life.
That
It was
was
part of
very
growing
noble.
up. In the 80s, that's what we did to each other. We punished each other by throwing dice in your
Never
face.
finish a game that
Yeah.
wasn't.
No. I mean, somebody had to do a table flip. But Axis and Allies, and the many variants of Axis and Allies, right? There are Guadalcanal, you've got Battle of the Bulge, you've got Europe. They had a Pacific version. They had a Normandy version. What other versions do they have? What am I missing?
Well, there's also just like a bunch of different. There's like 1942,
Yes.
1943, 1941, 1940. There's all sorts of those different ones.
Yep. It's just a
1914.
19,
there's
yes.
Zombies.
I have 1914. I just bought it at Gen Con. We still have not played that. I did not bring that. That is from Renegade Games.
Who licensed it from Wizards of the Coast.
And I'm really glad because they're actually taking pre-orders now for Guadalcanal.
Which looks cool.
So I'm definitely going to pre-order that sucker.
Yeah.
So we may not ever play it, but it's going to sit in a prominent...
We'll play it. We'll
yeah.
play that.
Well,
play that.
we'll see. But yeah, Axis and Allies. In fact, Alexander and I, my story started with Axis and Allies, right?
That was our first ever game.
Our first game together was Axis and Allies Revised Edition. When you came over from, you guys were living in England or Germany at the time?
We hadn't got married yet.
Right, so you were, right.
I was just coming over to meet everyone.
Came over, stayed for a week or two. We immediately played this game. Had a blast, enjoyed it. And I think that's what typifies, for me, Axis and Allies. Now, the games are 5 and 6 and 7 hours long. That's just the way it is, especially with really good players who understand the different rules. Yeah, I mean, you're fighting over one ship or like a transport in this area. You're like flying a sortie to go kill that because you know that's how the Japanese can get troops across. I mean, these games are great, right? They're all different. They're all unique. They involve a lot of dice, and you're rolling dice and hitting and taking pieces off the board. And it's about area control, control of capitals, control of areas, and they're fun. I enjoy them quite a bit. I would play them today at any time. In fact, that's why I bought Axis and Allies and Zombies, and that's why I bought 1914, World War I.
I really want to play that.
I do too.
I have a lot of interest in that.
We have next August. We always have next August. Guns of August, forever and perpetuity. But in the Game Master series, there's other games. I don't know what of those games you have played.
So I played Conquest of the Empire,
Which is
we
Roman.
played that, and
Yeah.
then we played Mike's variant of it.
I actually enjoy Mike's variant of it. It's too much
It's a very different game.
because it turns it into a way different game that it's supposed to be a light dice roll, and that has like negotiation, which is fun.
And like written orders.
But it turns it into something that it's not, and that's okay. That's Mike. That's our friend Mike. That's the way it goes.
That might be the only one that I've played though.
Really?
I've never played Fortress America.
Oh
I've
my
played
gosh.
Samurai.
So Shogun.
That's what Shogun.
Yeah,
is.
Shogun is so
think I played
amazing. Fortress America is so amazing and unique. They're all good, right? They are absolutely all good. If you haven't played,
They were especially good back then.
they were very good because that's what we had, right? Now there are other Hex and Counter War games like the Russian campaign, but I didn't have people to teach me and bring me into that. This is what we played. So Axis and Allies, probably one of the
It's like a quintessential
ultimate quintessential
and as much
Ameritrash
as
style
like
of
other
game.
Hex and Counter big war games, I still enjoy this style of game. as
Oh,
well.
it's fun,
Like it doesn't.
right?
It's not. I'm not too good for it.
Sure.
Right.
I think there's some people that think I'm too good for that, but that's okay. Everyone has character flaws and weaknesses, and I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. No, I get if you don't like it. I understand it. It was funny. I remember when we first started the blog, I wrote some post on my favorite 3 World War II games, and Axis and Allies was on the list, and man, I got lit up. I got lit up for that, and that's okay. I was new.
Oh, you're not having fun, correct?
Yeah, I really appreciated the, the welcoming nature of the fellow, wargamers who invited me into the fold and made fun of me incessantly, and that's okay. It's good. I'm still around 8 years later, which is kind of amazing that we survived. But yeah, Axis and Allies. So what other series?
So let's talk about the little Eric Lang Cool Men
Yes.
Are Not series that we've got here. Because this is quite a different style.
It is.
And we have a bunch of them.
And we own all 3 of them.
So we have...
And I really enjoy these games. I've never played any one of these 3 that I didn't have a good time, except when the dude at Buckeye Game Fest wiped the floor with us in Rising Sun.
He was a shark.
He knew what he was doing from
like,
the moment he sat
he was
down.
Like, oh, we can just play
We
this.
can just have
I've
fun.
Never played it before.
He destroyed me, and I'm like, wow, he's really good at that game.
So we got Blood Rage, which is the first one, then Rising Sun, the sequel, and the last one of the trilogy was Ankh. These are very much the kind of modern...
Ameritrash.
Yeah, where it's like these big bombastic plastic miniatures that are stunningly sculpted. They're from a company that used to be called Cool Mini or Not, and they are not called that anymore.
They're Come On, right?
Yeah.
CMON, whatever.
But that was the focus of them. Like Blood Rage, it was kind of like, is this a game or is it an excuse to have nice miniatures to paint?
And you know what? It's both, and that's fine.
It's both.
Because it's a great game, but the minis are amazing.
Yeah, the game is really, really, really fun. And it still holds up. This is one of my go-to games that I
With
teach
new
to
people.
like new people.
Yep.
When it's like new guy friends and they're like, oh, I want to play a game. I will bring out this.
Because it's fairly rules light,
Yes.
generally.
But
it's
it's complicated enough for people to be like, ooh, that was good.
There's some meat, but it's fun. And the minis are great.
Yeah, and it's got the little card drafting and the card play, so it tricks people into thinking it's not a war game.
Yeah.
But it's putting these guys out. The pieces and the spaces are much more regulated than they are at something like Axis and Allies with regards to stacking limits. But it's all about triggering powers and growing your little clan, and then just duking it out on the board. And timing and placements can be very, very important.
The thing that I do enjoy about this system is, frankly, they are all 3 extremely unique.
Oh yes, very
they
different
have
from each other.
Different mechanics, different mechanisms, different victory, different ways that even combat works. The combat in it, my favorite combat mechanic is in here. There's just so much uniqueness.
I'm inclined to agree
because
but
I can decide.
No idea how to do it.
Well, I can decide that I really want all my guys to die because, hey, there are cards that allow you to score victory points off of that because that's honorable that you know.
There's that secret blind bidding of where you commit your stuff, and it's like
you have Ronin and
seppuku.
Yep.
You don't get any points for that.
Yep.
I do. I lose the space.
Yep.
I'm not going to score the card, but I get some honor for that. I go up on the honor track.
Extremely unique. I also love the battle mechanic in Blood Rage, which is the Viking, because you sometimes you want to just go out and get obliterated,
Yeah,
right?
if you get those Valhalla cards,
you're getting 1 or 2 points for every guy you lose, and you're like, I'm okay with that, and you go out but that's what makes it fun. Because you never quite know what your other opponents are doing or how they're going to do it. Ankh is the one that we've played this one time.
Yes.
I loved it. I had a great time with it. It seemed like it was a lot more about building things and developing your pyramids and your different little structures.
You play as a god in this, and you're trying to build up your little areas and stuff, and then there's a cut-off point where the weakest gods combine.
Yep, to go against the strongest.
To go against whoever's left, and so there's lots of forward thinking and planning in this, and the way you divide up the boards into those sections.
Yeah. Very unique.
Totally different, really.
And I think that's what I like about this system is, yes, it is dudes on a map. It's Ameritrash, bucket of dice, got great minis, looks fantastic, huge boxes, but they're each different, and they're all by the same designer, Eric Lang. Whether you like him or not, he is a very talented designer. Now, I don't know what he's done since.
I think having done this and fulfilled his contract with that company, he's taking a break and doing his own thing.
Because I think this took 5 or 6 years.
At least.
Yeah, I mean, Blood Rage came out 8 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, 2015.
Okay, so that's 8 years. Then this one came out in 2016 or 17. I think this one didn't come out till like 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, that was 1 or 2 years ago.
But they're great games. They're fun. They've got enough combat to feel. I always feel like when we play certain style of games, even though they might be Euro style games, if they've got a nice little combat mechanic where I can go out and I can kick you in the teeth.
Yeah, I want some direct conflict in my game.
It brings me some satisfaction, right? And I also love playing with people that can't stand combat. It makes me laugh because I'm like, dude, it's a game.
Yeah.
Like we have a friend, love him to death. Every time you attack him, he's just like, why are you attacking me? Dude, you're next to me.
My little plastic soldiers were well, I need that space.
They're bloodthirsty. I have to fight some, but I mean, it's like,
It's not personal.
it's not personal. Just take it and move on. We play with a couple people that I think it's like, dude, just put that attitude away and just take your beatings and then dish them out, right? That's
Yes.
part of what the games are. But I enjoy this series. I think they're beautiful. I think the minis are great, but they're also fun to play. And they're war adjacent games.
Yeah, there is fighting in them,
Yeah.
but you don't necessarily have to view it as this is a war game.
But if you're not fighting in these games,
You probably will lose.
you're going to get destroyed. So good luck. I always laugh at those people that feel like, oh, I can win the game by turtling in the corner. That's great.
In those ones you can't.
No. Well, there's no corners to even turtle in,
Yeah.
frankly.
So next up we have, as I preach over, the Dominant Species series. It's 2 games from GMT Games. So we've got regular old Dominant Species.
And there's nothing regular or old about this.
It's old. It's from 2011.
It is amazing.
This is I think it's one of their most popular games as well at GMT.
I would
think
have
it's,
no
like,
doubt.
right up
It's
there.
got to be in their top 5,
This is
along
a
with Twilight
massive-
Struggle.
It's quite long.
Yeah, this is a 4 to 5 hour game.
Yes.
At a minimum. And frankly, some of the guys that we now list 2 to 4, but I'm like,
We play that 4 to 6 hours.
yeah, 4 to 6 hours because we try to do 5 players, right?
It's 6 players.
6 players. We try to do 6 players.
And there's so much to consider, even though a lot of it is a little bit chaotic. But you're like, oh, some bad stuff happened to me.
Yeah. Well, I got meteored to death. You know, you can't do anything about that,
Yeah.
right? Just move
But
on.
then it's like, how do I place on the track so that I don't get meteored?
Yes.
But I get to choose to meteor someone else.
The action selection in this game is incredibly good.
Yes.
The way you decide how and when and what you are going to do every turn is phenomenal.
You put out all of your stuff, and then you resolve
Execute
it all
it
in that
all
order.
in an order, and it's phenomenal because you've got to, when you put a what do they call them? Disc? No, they're not discs. They're like standees.
Yeah, the
Cylinders. When you put one of those out in one of those actions that are down at the bottom of the board, you need to understand there's a hell of a lot of things that are happening
that you locked yourself out of.
that ultimately might affect how you can actually effectually do what you're wanting to do at the end. And you got to plan,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
You got to make sure you have the guys to do what you need to do, or the spaces to do what you need to do, or it's just so good. And there's combat in it, right? I mean,
you're a little species of animals.
Yeah.
And you're out there competing
To survive.
and fighting and eating other people.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's so good.
and it's asymmetric, right? Each side has different abilities and special abilities, and
And then you
just so
build you build out what you're good at and what you can consume
Yep.
as you evolve and adapt.
Yep.
Oh, so good.
yeah. So this was the classic. This was when we played this, I was immediately in love, and I think we've played this half a dozen times over the past 5-6 years. And I wish we could play it more.
And it was like a favorite of a lot of people. I think everyone who played it at that table was like amazing.
Even our combat averse friends enjoyed it. They still don't enjoy when your spiders run over and eat their birds. They get upset about that. But you know what? They at least can endure.
Yes.
And deal with it.
The actual
so
game
good.
is so engaging that they were able to look past it.
And the disasters and the cards really keep the game moving, and they change things, and it's just that you got to deal with it. It's about evolution.
Yes.
The dominant species that's standing at the end.
It's quite literally that game.
Very cool game. Now they have a second game in the series,
So this only plays up to 4 players.
and uses the same mechanics, but in a completely different way. So
and
unique.
As a result, it is shorter.
Yeah,
I felt
2
like
hours.
This was much shorter.
Yeah, what does it say there?
It says 2
to 4.
1 to 3 hours.
Okay.
3 hours is probably reasonable for your first game.
Okay.
But it's just a shorter game. But it uses some of the same core mechanisms as
Yep.
this, especially with like movement and food and adaptation and things like that. But that kind of action selection part of it is slightly less punishing.
Yeah.
And as such, it's a bit more friendly of a game.
Because there's not as much competition over an individual space to take that.
Yeah, there's
still competition
because you have the bounds of those, but
when you take that, what happens is you don't place everything out at once. You place and then you take, right? It's a give and take, and there's just more opportunity, and makes for a little more frenetic and interesting.
But it's less
game.
It's less punishing.
Agreed.
It's easier to recover from like a placement mistake.
Right.
In this one.
And I would think this is more I wouldn't say introductory, but if you're going to try to introduce people to this series, I would choose Marine first. But hell, you know
Unless
what? Just jump into it. You're going to do it. But this one I think is a little. But it's only 1 to 4, or 2 to 4.
But I think the length of the game will appeal to more groups. It's harder to get people to sit down for something that's quite as long.
Although we've never had a problem.
But I think we're abnormal in that
Anytime we ever ask people, are like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking we need to get a dominant species game going sometime this holidays.
But yeah, these it's Chad Jensen classics, really.
And this is a game that our friend owned, right? And he moved away.
Yes.
And I searched and searched and searched, and I found, I think this is a 5th edition copy. Let me just see. Oh, it's a 2nd edition copy. But it's like in the 4th or 5th edition now.
Yeah.
I got this for $50 on a clearance shelf from...
You can't go wrong.
Yeah, and I saw it, and I grabbed it, put everything else I had down in my hands, walked up, bought it, and left.
Yeah.
But fantastic games.
These are very good, but it's, putting your guys out, trying to get them to survive,
Yep.
trying to spread out, get away from people, but then you're also trying to, like, occupy their territory.
Yep.
It's a very classic dude.
So they are not troops, but they're cubes that represent your species, and there's combat. So you go in and you take over and you kill and you outclass them and control the area, and that's just the way it is. And the game is fun. Dominant Species, absolutely love that series. We'll play that at any time. Next series, let's talk about. Do you have your Cyclades? Oh, these games are so bad.
So this is a very loose series. I don't know if you would even call it that, but it's
made by Matagot, and they're very similar.
Yeah, so there's Cyclades or Cyclades, however you want to pronounce that. Yep. Kemet, and there's the new Kemet, which we don't like the second, and then there's
Inus.
Yeah, Inus, which I have played.
Okay.
I played that in England because my brother has
it. And it was really good.
Very good.
Yeah. Was it different than these a lot? I mean, each of these is different.
Yeah, that one's like a tile laying game, and you go and each of those has different things. So,
but you're still trying to control it with troops and your kings,
yes, and it's fighting guys.
Yeah.
But you're trying to control X amount of things. It's very different, but it's very cool. But yeah, these are, I think, much more mainstream than some of the other games. Well,
I would argue.
Cool Mini or Not ones are very mainstream, but this is like we were playing these before Cool Mini or Not even ever released again, basically.
Yeah.
And this is
and I like these because once again, there's direct conflict.
Yeah.
That's what the games are about. Both of them in different ways, but they're both about direct conflict.
And I like the mythical setting of them as well, right? You get the little plastic miniatures are this big instead of this big from the other games, but
they're still cool.
They're just fun to play around with. I really like the bidding mechanics in Cyclades. Yep. That's kind of the...
And I really enjoy the combat mechanic in Kemet because you have cards and it goes back to that Eric Lang style of, well, maybe I'll just die here.
Yeah.
Because that's what I need this time. It kind of has some of that.
Yeah, because you have combat cards and you play one and they play one and it's got attacks and defenses.
Yeah.
But then that's gone
minis.
And you don't get that back until you've gone through your whole hand.
So very unique.
The combat action selection's wonderful. In this one, the bidding is wonderful because you have your money hidden behind a screen.
Best part of the game.
And I bid and you outbid me.
Yep.
So I have to bid on a different track So I'm trying to bid low on here so I get outbid on that one so I can go back to my original track with a
Yep.
bigger bid because you can never bid on the same track twice.
Yeah.
And trying to make that work and how much of your resources to commit to guarantee you'll get something.
Well, and you're bidding over the different actions that you can take, right? Moving, fighting. I can't remember but if you can't
if you don't get
that action, you
God
can't
of
do
War,
that.
You can't do any combat.
Yeah.
So you're like, ooh.
Yeah, so both of them are great, though. I have had a great time playing both of these, and I have played both these with other people, not just with you, and had a blast with them.
Just so fun. And these are a little bit more short format.
Yeah, 2 hours, I think.
Yeah,
90 minutes to 2
When
hours.
that's kind of the max of your game, I think that's why these are much more popular than
Yeah.
maybe the 4 to 6 hour games.
Sure.
Dominant Species.
Well, and they're just great.
You just can't go wrong with this kind of a game.
Yep.
It's easy to play with family, with friends, because it's not too overwhelming.
Nope. The interesting thing is this one has really cool minis. They're just really small.
Yes.
And then this one has a lot of really cool minis that are much, much bigger, but they also have the little minis. So it's like there's an evolution. I don't know what Inus's minis look like, but they look pretty
the
big.
Little guys.
Okay.
I don't remember the big ones. I'm
The
sure they
little
existed.
guys.
I've only played it the once, but it was
Got
a
it.
fun game though.
I actually backed a Kickstarter from Matagot that's a sci-fi game in this kind. I wouldn't call it a series, but in this style of games. Right. Area Control. I can't remember the name of it, but it's probably next year. I backed it like a year ago, but
so we got the Ares Games, Tolkien series.
Yeah, sorry, I'm struggling.
2 games.
And there's some dust on these because
they're on your top shelf.
They're on my very top shelf, so I'm disgusted by that fact. But War of the Ring and Battle of the Five Armies. These are both kind of card-driven style area control, area influence games. We've had a blast with War of the Ring.
It's just you set it up. It
Yep.
takes the whole day.
Yep.
You put on the soundtracks and you just play the Lord of the Rings.
I will say this: I do enjoy this game, but there's some people that are like, this is the greatest game of all time. I don't enjoy it to that level. It is fun, but I don't enjoy it to that level.
I think those people are people who are like die-hard Tolkien fans, and
Well,
that's what they are and do.
And I'm a pretty damn die-hard Tolkien fan, though. I
Yeah,
read those books when I was 12.
But I think that this is like the peak of what they'll play, as opposed to
Sure.
much more complicated historical games.
Sure.
And I think the people who are like, this is their best game ever,
I actually wish this had
they're
been...
like, this is what it is.
I wish this was more of a war game. I really do. I know the Free Peoples can win a military victory, but it's not very likely.
It's much less likely.
So I really wish it was more, because it really is about the little fellowship and getting Sam and Frodo up the mountain, and I mean, it's fantastic.
Not dying before that happens.
Yeah. But really enjoy it. Battle of Five Armies, very, very cool. They're both beautiful games.
This one is much more of
a war
game in
game.
the sense that
Sure.
it's just the Battle of Five Armies. Here's my guys, here's your guys
Yep.
of different types, and we're going to fight over it.
Yeah, we've talked
This
about
one-
playing this one recently, too. We're like, we need to get this out and have a good time with it. But I will never turn down a game of any one of these. I do wish they were more than just 2 players, though.
Well, this one can do 2 to 4, where you have Mordor, Isengard,
Sure.
and you have like the elves and the humans.
Sure.
Yeah, I would like to see more of that. Do you ever play Lord of the Rings Risk?
Yeah, I have it. It's on my shelf. We've played it before together.
I played that with my
It's
brother as
fun.
well. I like that one too.
It's very fun. I love the little minis in that one, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are great games. Ares, they just came out with some new expansions for this one.
Yes.
Lords of Middle Earth, I think. And I'm like, do I want to get it? And I really do. But anyway, there's some good games there. Very good games.
I think the last things that we've got.
We've just got some onesies and twosies. Here, you can just pull yours out and...
So we've got Eschaton, which is...
Sorry, you've got your...
Oh, it's... Yeah.
I should have cleaned those off more.
This is a
I'm
game
embarrassed.
that everyone should go out and buy. I love this game.
Well, it's just a great game. Area control, there's some deck building in it. It's got a very cool theme. And I'm telling you, I heard Russ Wheatley describe it as evil coin. And I thought, damn, he's absolutely right.
Yeah, mechanically it's different,
But it just looks like evil coin.
There's 4 of us, and we're all evil cults
Trying to take over the world before it destroys
and
the cataclysm.
Like you're just fighting each other
Yeah.
areas, and you're like, your little deck building powers you, but you also like sacrificing those to get victory points and powers and things. Yeah, it's so cool.
The other thing I like so much about that game is the mechanics with the area control and the card play really seamlessly work so well together that I could never see playing that game without either or of those. The other thing I love about it is simple. It is a very straightforward game, even in its presentation. I mean, look at the box. It's just solid graphic design. Nothing real flashy, but I'm telling you what, that sticks out on my shelf.
It is a very consistently themed game.
And it's so good. I have all the expansions. We have the Runes of Sigil. I bought the Cultist meeples. And now there's a cooperative game coming out. So you can play this cooperatively. I backed it, but it's because you get some other new cards and some other stuff as well. And I'm a completist, so I went ahead and backed it.
But yeah,
I think you can also get the base game, so you need to get on. I think it's called Iconoclasm. Estachan Iconoclasm, I think is what the Kickstarter is called. So if you don't have it or don't know about this game, get on it, order it. You and your friends will thank us.
If you like a Dudes on a Map game,
it's so good.
So fun.
We even played that with my father-in-law, and I think he really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it was 2 hours.
Yeah, there's times where we play games with him where you just know he's playing because he just wants to spend time with us.
But that one, he was invested.
He was trying to win. We followed that by playing Dune Imperium as well, and he was in that one too. But he boogered up quite a bit.
That was a fun game. That was a fun day.
Made him cry about it. But the other game that I grabbed, Dune Arrakis. This is Dawn of the Fremen. This came out like 18 months ago. And it is an area control, dudes on a map style game. There's no minis, right? I think they could have done an option that may have looked a little better, but it's just like flat counters that are on
As a result,
sprue.
It was very affordable though.
Yeah, it's like a $35 game, plays in 90 minutes. The very cool thing about this is the way areas come together determine how much combat power you can bring to bear on an area, and you have got to plan. And I thought that was one of my most favorite parts, where I'm like, okay, before I attack this area, I've got to control this area. That will give me 3 areas that I can attack with, and I'm going to get bonuses. But if you can't do that, it's hard to win.
This game was really fun, and I would say it's underrated.
Oh, I would extremely underrated.
Like even like the going out and the foraging for scrap and trying to find like good cards and things.
Going through that deck trying to get the different.
And some of those things are so strong.
Oh well, that ornithopter kind of broke the game. You got the ornithopter like at the very end, and you were able to like fly all over the place, and we were like, okay, this is over. and I thought, I'm gonna rip that ornithopter up and I'm gonna throw it away because that. Other than that, the game was absolutely, and it was fine that you won.
Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah.
Very solid. And even though it was a new game, it felt like one of these old school games that we used
classic.
to play because it's just really solid, really well made. I love the Doom theme.
Oh, yeah. The other part about this game was the rings you collected for getting defeated in combat was somewhat of a catch-up mechanic. But you needed those colored rings ultimately to win the game. Yeah. To get out the different sieges or whatever they were. Amazing how it all worked together. And you're like, okay, go ahead, smash me. I'm going to thank you. I'll take your ring. And now I can do what I need to do to win the game.
I'll lose this crappy one.
Yep. To now win the game. Yeah. Very cool. Very well done. I think production wise, they could have done a better job at that. But I was very happy with it. $35-$40, and it was a blast.
If they'd have charged you $65 for it,
I would have been mad.
I would have been annoyed about it.
Yeah.
But for $35, I think I don't have any production.
And this was from Gale Force 9, who I think has made several Dune games. I mean, I have the original Dune game redone. But this is an underrated game. I think you said it very well. In fact, these last 2 games that we showed, not war games, But man, vastly underrated. Very good. I would play these today if we
Really?
had 4 friends to come about.
The last one we've got is a bit more of like a 4X style game, and it's Eclipse Second Dawn for the Galaxy. You could buy the first edition, that's totally fine. You might be able to find it cheaper.
This one has some new changes to those mechanics that I think makes it a little more quickly to play, quick playing.
Just tightened it up, and I think they shaved one of the turns off of the game.
I didn't like this thing, though. I didn't enjoy using that.
I would have liked it if they worked properly.
Yeah, they just didn't work right.
So they made some like custom player trays for it, which would be fine, but
they
like
weren't sturdy enough.
they don't. The cardboard in them is like convex.
Yeah.
And so the pieces don't sit in it properly, and it's like it's gonna pop out and move anyway. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I have a good time with this game.
Eclipse is just wonderful. I love Eclipse.
And it is about, right, it's the 4X style of game. So you explore, you exterminate with your combat. You expand into colonies and you're building, and then you're exploiting those colonies for new resources to build things and do things. And it just works really well. Where the dudes on a map, Ameritrash comes, it's about dice rolling, right? You've got a ton of dice. And they're different color dice, right?
And
some
are very different in this one.
Very different, but there's like yellow ones, and there's red ones, and there's, what were the other color of?
Orange and blue.
Orange and blue, and each one of them is a step up in their combat effectiveness. So you've got to develop your technologies with your ships to get the best dice, go out and then have a field day as you're crushing people with your...
Yeah, so you have a very defined arms race, a technology race, an economy race,
and it makes the game quick. Right?
Yeah.
Because that stuff escalates so quickly, somebody's going to get out in front and then everybody else is going to pound them down and then someone's going to sneak in and win.
And it's all your different alien races are all unique. If you play with just the humans, you should be fired out of a cannon because there's no point. They're so, like...
Well, you might do that on your first play just to get the rules down, but...
I wouldn't even bother.
Sure, I wouldn't either. I would agree with that.
It's just wonderful. You get to like build your ships with all these slots and fill them how you want.
Yep.
So very quickly your stuff changes.
Yep.
On top of what unique alien races.
So you can all buy like a cruiser, and that cruiser has 3 or 4 different, two lasers, maybe a different engine, a shield, and a computer, and you can buy whatever you want. So you can make it good with missiles, and you can make it have some better shields, and just so cool. So well done.
Just a really good, solid kind of classic.
We played that last year this year at Basement Con, right? I'm not sure Nate and some of the others liked it as much, but
I love that.
I had a good time with it.
Yeah,
I always do.
I had the first edition copy with all the different micro expansions, which they've included in this box, which is nice. So we sold that on and picked up the second.
Well, and the production on this is just off the chart.
Yeah.
Very well produced. And I think that's another hallmark of these Ameritrash style games. Typically, they have pretty good production.
Especially modern ones.
Yeah, I mean, either minis or hard plastic things. The dice are always almost nice or custom. Not every one of them. Yeah.
It's great to look at on a table and to play with.
Another thing I liked about Kemet that I meant to mention is you have your pyramids, right? Because it's set in Egypt, and they're big four-siders. And you flip them based on the technology level, and it's so cool when you're looking out over the board and you're like, ooh, he has white four-sider pyramids, and just so cool. But that's a hallmark, is good production, nice looking games with those area control elements, either minis or cubes or something else. And I have always had a soft spot in my heart for Ameritrash.
Yeah, me too.
I will always play them. In fact, all these games that we mentioned on the table tonight, we need to now put on our We Need to Play Again Soon list. And that's going to push war games aside for a while. But,
regularly, these are the kinds of games that we would just like play weekly, but it was also like when we would get together for like a family gathering at a holiday, we would usually crack out one of these.
Yep.
And so they're great opportunities to sit down, usually multiple people, not just the two of us, and get more people involved as well.
Well, and different than Euro games in this same, regular board gaming world, these all have a lot of interaction.
Yes.
Not necessarily direct negotiation, but there's some interaction and there's some deal making in some ways, and alliance making.
And a lot of friction and conflict.
Yeah,
in a lot
it's
of
fun. Makes for some fun, experiences, frankly.
Yeah, that's some like Ameritrash style games that we like, that if you like war games, you will most likely also enjoy.
Yeah.
So
It is funny when we go to things, I think people are expecting that we're going to have to somehow play a war game with them, meaning a game like this. We don't necessarily sit down and play Stefan Feld's move this cube to this area and make this colored cube and trade that colored cube into a board.
I'd like
and
to convert my blue cubes into
red cubes, please. Yeah. Those games have their place as well. I enjoy them, but I would rather have good interaction, combat, dice rolling,
especially
fun.
if I'm with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
I don't want to use my cube conveyor belt to make the green ones yellow by putting them in the yellow making machine. Right?
While I 100%...
I want to do this with people.
While I 100% agree with you, there are some very good Euro-style games that are very fun and interesting and use the cube conveyor belt concept. So, anyway, I know you don't like them as much as I do, but...
It has to be, like, really good.
Oh, no, I get it. Yeah. Agreed.
But yeah, let us know what kind of these styles of Ameritrash games that you like. Maybe ones that we didn't talk about, or ones that we did talk about that you really love.
Another one that I didn't bring that I thought about was Conan.
Oh, interesting.
The minute, because it uses a lot of dice and also has, it's a little more RPG.
I would say that's more of like a dungeon crawler.
Yeah,
game,
that's true.
In a way.
That's
that's a topic for another video.
Oh yeah,
we have a lot of those as well.
That's a game I would play at any time as well.
Think about Reichbusters.
Oh, Reichbusters is hilarious, and I would love to set that up and just play it.
A very unwieldy game, but very fun.
But very, very cool.
But yeah,
and you painted those minis, and they're just cool looking. So.
But yeah, there's a ton of this stuff out there. Let us know what you like, or what ones that we should maybe look into in the future, because I love this style of game as well.
Me too.
But appreciate you very much for tuning in. I've been Alexander for theplayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.